Welcome back, Lori. Today we are going to talk about infant feeding, and this is a big topic. This could be its own podcast just in and of itself. Um, and I'm just going to let everyone know for some context. My first daughter never latched. We did exclusive pumping for about 9 months, and then she got formula. And then my second kid came out, and he was like an absolute savage in the sense that he was like latched, and he would still be breastfeeding if I let him, and he's 4. So, we stopped at around 2, 2.5, but there were no issues is really what I'm trying to say. So sometimes I think we can put so much blame on ourselves around the breastfeeding, infant feeding journey, in this idea that we should be doing something, or if only it had worked out this way or that way. And I just want to say to anyone, like, man, you got to give yourself some grace, because sometimes you can't control it either. You do your best, and, you know, some children aren't going to be exclusively breastfed, and some kids are going to be only formula fed. And it's going to depend on so many factors of your life, the kid, all of these things. And I think we just need to have space for that, hold space for that, right, Lori?
I agree 100%. I have a daughter-in-law and a grandbaby who are exclusively pumping and feeding, and that is what's working with them. And what I love so much is our lactation consultants at the womb. They're international board certified lactation consultants. They are infant feeding specialists, and they are helping people, whether they are, pumping, whether they are using breast milk substitute, whether they are wanting to know how to wean, whether they are wanting to know how to pace feed, whether they are wanting to know how to, it doesn't matter. Everybody needs support, and everybody needs guidance, and everybody needs to be stop with the judgment and the shooting on that we talked about before.
It's so true. And there's so much of it, and there's so much, you know, self-blame. Again, that was my experience of saying, well, what am I doing wrong? And even having a well-meaning friend, say to me, well, your child's palate's not going to develop properly because they're not on the boob. And so bottle feeding isn't going to develop their jaw. This was a dentist friend of mine saying, and I'm like, I know, like, I feel like I want them to be breastfeeding, like, right on the boob, but it's not happening. And I've seen all the people, and we've done all the things, and the tongue tie and the whole thing, and it's not freaking happening. And then I'm spiraling out of control.
Right. And you can, with any information that people are sharing, they're sharing what they, what they think, what their opinion is, what they feel is best, and you can thank them for it. And then, yes, thank you for that. You might be right. And this is my experience. And there's a lot of other things you can do for a palate and to help, with the tongue resting at the top of the mouth and all of that. We could go down that slope. But when it comes to infant feeding, what I have learned, and I am a lactation educator. I'm not a lactation consultant. And that, yeah, every baby is different. Every breast is different. Every person that is attached to that breast or chest is different. And the experience is going to be different for everybody, and sometimes a challenge. And then the challenge is, this is the hard part, is happening for you, not to you. And that's something that, well, I guess we could talk a lot more about. But, in the case of, for you, Nikki, this is personal, but I think that you are able to positively influence and maybe listen better to people who have had an experience where breastfeeding didn't work out, because you've had that personal experience yourself.
Totally. Oh, the
Right?
empathy, you don't really understand it until you've lived it. Like, I'll never forget holding my firstborn daughter, like, so much milk, like, milk supply, not an issue. It's like I'm holding her, she's crying, it's dripping in her mouth, and I'm trying to, like, bottle feed her at the same time. Like, felt so redundant, where I'm like, it's right there, honey. It's right there. And yet I had to be pumping and, like, bottle feeding her because she couldn't latch on.
Yeah, I see that happen. And at the same time is, yeah, and you saw lactation consultants, and so has my daughter-in-law. And there are times when people's, when they are feeding, that they're having they are say breastfeeding, and sometimes a 5% tweak on a latch can make such a huge difference
Yeah.
that I always, I'm so grateful to work with a team of specialists who can work with people, and also where they are, meet them where they are, and do what's best, and come up with a, not necessarily a plan, but a if this, then this, and if this, then this, and this is how it's meant to be, and it's all okay.
Mhm.
You are enough. This is enough. You're doing okay. Give yourself, you mentioned grace, lots of grace around this.
Yeah, it's true. And there's a lot of opinions too. And it goes both ways too. Like I remember feeding, having my son, and he's about probably he's walking at this point, 15 months old. We've been breastfeeding the whole time. And people go, isn't it time to stop?
Hmm.
Like, like you get it both ways. Like, oh, you're formula feeding, and then oh, you're breastfeeding, but clearly now it's been too long because like he's walking now and he's got words. So, that's too long.
Yeah, there's going to be opinions about right, wrong, good, bad, enough, not enough,
Yeah.
from everybody. So yeah, I think that we're just, that is something that you will figure out and you will do. Now, I will say one of the best classes we have ever started at the womb, and that I do highly value, is a prenatal breastfeeding class. And it is really just so we can talk about some of the hiccups, talk
Mhm.
about some of these things that might come up. And so that if you have it tucked in your back pocket, that if breastfeeding is important to you, that,
Yeah.
knowing how to hand express before you have a baby is a really great tool.
Yeah.
If you have the ability, and that's an if, to use a little syringe and store up some colostrum if you're planning a cesarean birth, and having that in the case of maybe your baby is, has blood sugar issues, and if that, like, so there's just so much information, and that's not to, have people overwhelmed, but it's just having that class has made a world of difference, in that there are often hiccups. It's a natural process. It doesn't always happen naturally, and it's not important to everybody. And it's, um, it's a like you said, if this, then this, and if this, then this, and this is the next right step in your direction, and that's going to be different. Certainly not one size fits all, and don't let anybody shit on you.
I think we need a t-shirt that says that.
Don't. That's a great t-shirt. My husband makes shirts. Maybe I'm going to get him to do one that says, "Don't let anyone shit on you," or "Don't shit on yourself." We need two. We need both.
We need both. Oh man, I love it so much. I love you. This is
I
so true.
love you.
And love to anybody out there listening to this who's, wondering, about their
What
journey.
should I do?
Should I do? Exactly. Yeah, just show yourself grace. That's my biggest tip. And learn as much as you can beforehand in a way that empowers you, but also show yourself grace.
Beautiful.